The launch lineup of the Nintendo Switch had some variety. I mean, you had Bomberman, RPG with I Am Setsuna, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but there's one game that was a launch title in Japan and Europe that was very quirky looking, looked very strange, and has a reputation of being awful in a whole lot of ways. It's a game about magical girls riding motorcycles, and I just had to get it, play it, and review it for you. So, it's not out in America yet, but you can grab it from the Japanese or European eShops. So here's my review of the game made by Poisoft, Vroom in the Night Sky. The story of Vroom in the Night Sky is simple. You play the game as a magical girl who rides on magical motorcycles, flying around collecting magical stardust, so that she can buy more magical vehicles to be faster to collect more magical stardust before her magical girl rivals come in and steal all of the magical stardust for themselves. Magical is a very repeated word in the game, but that's pretty much the story. Magical girl collecting stardust, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Now the story is very basic, but there's one thing that's a huge problem: the translation. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this at all. The translation looks like they threw the script into Google Translate and copy-pasted it into the English version of the game. You start out with dialogue like, "You are a magical girl from now." Your rival will come into a stage saying, "The moon of tonight is my friend." It's just awful. Granted, you can tell what they're saying most of the time, but it looks like there was absolutely no effort put into it at all from the localization branch of Poisoft. Vroom in the Night Sky is really hard to define as a specific genre, because during gameplay, you're flying around 3D sandbox arenas with some light combat elements, kind of like a flight simulator, but you're collecting objects to end the stage kind of like a puzzle game, or a Nintendo 64 platformer like Super Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. But I don't think it belongs in any genre, so let's call it a magical girl flying game. Now once you get into this magical girl flying game, to progress in the game you basically go between going into stages, getting money from stages, and then spending money on new vehicles, and of course unlocking stages 2 through 8 by completing prior stages or doing very copy-paste PlayStation 4 like trophies. And let's take a minute to talk about these trophies, because the game has achievements. Buy your first motorcycle, boom, you get a bronze trophy. Buy a tier 2 motorcycle, boom, you've unlocked stage 6 and you get a silver trophy. But it is a copy-paste job from PlayStation 4 trophies. From the icons of the trophies to how they pop up on the screen. So if you're one of those people that wants PlayStation 4 trophies in Nintendo Switch games, guess what? This game's got them. When you go into a stage, you fly around, you have these gold star items littered around the stage that you're supposed to collect. Collect them all, go through the gate, you end the level, and get your money. And it does get slightly more in depth later, because once stage 2 happens, a rival magical girl will appear flying around trying to steal your stardust, so it kind of turns it into, okay, do I want to just focus on getting my stardust and leaving, or do I want to go and attack her and get her out of here so I don't have to worry about her stealing all my stuff? But that's about as in depth as it ever gets. But one thing about unlocking is that the game is a very, very big grind. Grindy and repetitive at first. Because when you start the game, you have very slow vehicles that are hard to handle, and let's face it, the game starts you off with a scooter. A motorized scooter moped. It is slow. It takes forever to get across the stage. If any of you played GTA 5, the Faggio. Same thing. So when you're going through all of these stages, having to do stages over and over and over and over and over and over and over again to rack up the money to buy a new motorcycle, when you're doing it with all these slow mopeds, it's just so boring. I mean, doing a stage 4 or 5 times where I'm literally slogging through it like a snail. I mean, I got really bored with it. But once I started getting tier 2 bikes and unlocking achievements that gave me the special gag vehicles, like the broomstick, the airliner, the bus, or the bench, it got dramatically more fun. Because once you get a high-speed vehicle, the game's a blast to play through. Just flying through levels, seeing all the environments, collecting stuff, it's 100 times more fun. But it's worth noting that it's a grind. Because if you want to unlock everything, if you want to buy those higher tier motorcycles, you're going to be grinding dozens upon dozens of stages. With difficulty? What difficulty? The game is clearly meant to be like a casual pick up and play type of game for people who like anime and magical girls. There is no difficulty. Even when your rival comes in, if you literally sit still for 20 minutes, she will never steal all of those important stardust that you need to complete the level. She's just there for fun. There is no sense of difficulty in the game at all. And I mean, that's not really a bad thing. Now let's talk about playtime. A single playthrough, a single stage, probably take you 5 minutes. Maximum 5 minutes. Unless, of course, you're using the giant sky stage as the moped. I don't know why you'd ever do that, but that might take a little bit more than 5 minutes because of how slow it is and how huge that stage is. But 5 minutes a run. Now, if you take into this account, along with all of the grinding plays you're going to get for getting everything unlocked, you're probably going to spend at least 3 to 5 hours on the game. Now, considering the fact that this is not an expensive game, it's only about $7 on the UK eShop, that's not a really bad trade-off. Especially when you think of games like Snake Pass that just released that are charging you $20 for 2 hours of gameplay. Now, controls. Since I'm mentioning controls, you know there's something wrong with the game. The control scheme is very strange. First of all, it has a PlayStation type setup. Instead of A being confirm in the menu and B being cancel, it's flip-flopped. B, where the X button is on the PlayStation controller, is confirm, and A is cancel. Now, you can flip this in the settings for menus, but you cannot flip it for gameplay. And the main thing with gameplay is the speed up button. To give yourself a speed boost that you need for time trials, you hold the B button down to accelerate, and you have to hit the X button to give yourself a speed boost, which is extremely awkward. Trying to hold down the B button and hit the X button at the same time while also steering with the left analog stick. It's super awkward. It's almost claw hand worthy back from the PSP gen with Monster Hunter. Really, they should have put at least one of those controls on the triggers. Now, with presentation. Visually, the game looks good, but at the same time, it doesn't look so good. The good thing is, whether you're in docked mode or handheld mode, all of the edges on the character models are flawless. No jagged edges, nothing. The main problem, draw distance and details on the character models. The draw distance is pretty bad in the game, especially in the ocean level, where for some reason, everything in the distance looks like it's covered in the blue ocean, even for stuff that's above the ocean that shouldn't be blue at all. And some of the environments really look like colored blocks instead of buildings. I mean, there's really a lack of detail. Now, on the flip side, the game's got great casual music. It runs at 60 frames per second, and there are no crashing problems, no loading time problems, no FPS drops. The optimization is amazing. Now, let's talk about battery life. When you're playing this, since it's a 3D game, I had some very low expectations, especially after what Zelda and Snake Pass got us. But I was surprised. From 100% down to 0%, you will get the following times for battery life. With max brightness with the Wi-Fi on, you're going to get 3 hours and 5 minutes. With the max brightness and the Wi-Fi off, you're going to get 3 hours and 20 minutes. With the brightness on low and the Wi-Fi on, 3 hours and 36 minutes. And with low brightness with the Wi-Fi off, you're going to get 3 hours and 52 minutes. So regardless of your settings, you're going to get between 3 and 4 hours. In conclusion, Vroom in the Sky is something I want to tell you is great because of the quirky charm and the fact that I loved it so much and got hooked to it once I got the faster vehicles. But there are so many things wrong with it. The Google Translate translation, the initial grind and repetition with these slow vehicles, the control scheme, the draw distance, the environment details, the fact that it feels like a tech demo. I mean, I'm sorry, Poisoft. I love your game, but there's just so much wrong with it that I can't give it a good score. Reviews to Go rates Vroom in the Night Sky a 5 out of 10. If you'd like to comment on this further, feel free to below, or head to the website at www.reviewstogo.com.